Hi, hello, and welcome to this week's True Crime live stream. I'm FEARSONA, you can call me Sona, Fear, Red, and I'm here to... Oh, wait, I messed up. And I'm your friendly neighborhood True Crime VTuber, fucking up my intro, and I'm here to give you full body chills, as always. Listen, I can see the chat going on about like, oh, am I on the light side or dark side? And actually, Jacob was pretty spot on. I would say I'm like more chaotic neutral. If I were to choose sides, okay, I'm gonna choose the side that benefits me most. That's the thing. That's what I would do. That's what I'm gonna do in D&D. That's what happens. Oh my god, I have to sneeze. Don't sneeze. Ah! And Bone Crusher, hi, thank you so much. And don't worry about missing the streams. Hey, they are there. My streams are generally, if they are true crime streams, they are generally okay to be also listened to like a podcast. So hey, you're not missing out. Yeah, sure, it's fun to interact with the chat. It's fun to be here when it's live, but it's also out there if you want to just listen to the case, if you want to listen to the story, and while you do something else, while you're doing something else. So don't worry about it. And hi Rose, hi wifey. Wait. Infernite Ninja, have you heard of Kingdom Hearts? I have heard of Kingdom Hearts. I have not played it, but yeah, I have heard. And before we start the case, before we, dive into the story, please be warned that there are going to be some graphic descriptions. So if you are sensitive to strong language, graphic descriptions of violence, please do not watch the video, or I don't know, brace yourself, because it's gonna be bloody, it's gonna be gruesome. And an important question, do you like pineapple pizza? Yes or no? Yes, I do. I know some people will be like, abomination, what the fuck, Sona? But yes, I do like pineapple pizza. And Ian, hi! Hey, Fearsona, do you mind if I ask you a question? Ask all the questions you want. Okay, I know I guess it's a case of pronunciation, different pronunciation of ask, but I've always thought it's kind of interesting how, it's kind of weird that some people pronounce it as axe, but hey, to each their own, whatever works for you. Also, this is the case that I've been waiting for. I've been waiting to cover it for a long time, and I'm ready to finally dive into the story. And listen, I know I probably sound a little bit too excited, considering this is a serial killer case. I do realize it doesn't look good morally. No, I am not a psychopath. I'm not a sociopath. I am not a serial killer groupie. No. But this is actually one of the first cases that I've read about and that I watched like videos on, and what can I say? There is a feeling of nostalgia because I am going back to my roots, how it all started, where it all started. And this is where it all started. That's one of the first cases that I've kind of was passionate about, or like I've gotten that pulled me in. So yeah. Have you heard of Danganronpa? Can we stay on the topic, please? I don't know. Maybe a good old-fashioned axe murdering. Old axe murdering. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be a lot of. There's gonna be a lot of hatchets. What is that? Wait, axes? I guess that's a plural form. And Earl James says, I love this case. It is intriguing. It's definitely one of the Red's origin story. That's where it all started, honestly. Okay. Southwestern Ontario is pretty much hell. What? You live in hell? Oh, because okay, Jacob was asking, Racer, you live in hell? Well, I mean, hell is where the Axeman was sending letters from, so I will explain. Okay, so as I said, this case is absolutely insane. It's unsolved, and it happened only 30 years after the infamous Jack the Ripper murder spree. So I may be just a little hyper to tell you this story because it's like, it's so close to, those two were so close, you know, like Jack the Ripper, and it's a worldwide infamous case, and then the Axeman of New Orleans. Come on. I mean, you gotta appreciate that. I mean, obviously, terrible, gruesome murder, and no, I do not condone violence. You know, don't do that, kids. Play nice, but don't play with axes. But listen, it's, you know, I do have that soft spot for this one. And before we start, I just want to remind you guys that aside from true crime streams here on YouTube, I also do bonus true crime streams on my Patreon. And currently there is a limited time offer, special offer. If you subscribe to Patreon until March 31st, so within this month, you will get a special Fearverse welcome package, which contains a letter typewritten and signed by me, as well as a sticker and a Polaroid. Sticker and Polaroid, it depends on what tier you choose. If you choose tier $5, like $5 tier, you're gonna get the letter and the sticker. And then if you choose the... okay. Scholastica just donated. I am enjoying how Sona is amazingly giddy right now. I am. I'm sorry. I know I sound like a crazy person, but I swear to God, I'm not like a crazy serial killer groupie. I swear to God, I'm just excited because I've been waiting for this fucking case from Louisiana. And yeah, if you choose the tier $10 and above, you're gonna get a Polaroid, sticker, and a letter. Everything packed in a very, very nice envelope with my wax seal on it. Yeah. So, just so you know, this offer ends on March 31st. I may extend it to April 1st. I may, but I might extend it, but not set in stone yet. So, just so you know, if you subscribe now, you will get access to... I mean, obviously, you won't only get those items. You will get can't speak. Classic. You will get access to a whole library of my past bonus true crime streams, all the cases that I've covered, bonus true crime live stream, just to, you know, hang out with me a little bit more. Okay. Okay, now I'm good. RB says, don't play with axes? Aw. Drops battle axe. What will I butter my toast with? Hey, listen. You can use the axe to just, you know, for your toast. I allow you, but just, you know, play nice with people. She said it. Persona is psycho? Little bit. Okay, so you going to count how many there are? Wait, what? How many what? Axes? I mean, there's gonna be a lot. The Axeman of New Orleans, I heard so much about him. Yep, that's a crazy case. Okay, now, without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so, just when people around the world started to slowly forget about the gruesome series of murders that happened in London in 1888, and the name Jack the Ripper would finally become a ghost of the past, people of New Orleans found themselves living through the same kind of horror. Between May 1918 and October 1918, New Orleans residents would live in constant fear and panic because a serial killer was terrorizing the streets, breaking into their homes, and murdering people with an axe. This is the story of the Axeman of New Orleans. In 1918, New Orleans, a city known as the birthplace of jazz, was bustling with music like it had never done so before. Countless bars and dance clubs filled to the brim with people would erupt with jazz every single night, spinning the wheel of a never-ending party. But the carefree city soon changed its tune to fear, when the murder spree of the killer deemed the Axeman erupted and continued throughout the span of roughly 18 months. Axeman would move around the city like a shadow, because hardly anyone saw him. I mean, there are accounts where people claim to have seen him, but they couldn't really describe him much. It was as if like he was a shadowy figure, and he was breaking into the victims' homes and murdering them with a sharp tool, usually an axe, sometimes a razor, which oftentimes actually belonged to the victims themselves. In most cases, the killer would enter the house by removing the panel on the back door by a chisel. And then both the chisel and the panel would be just left on the floor near the door. So the murderer, or like the attacker, he would never really take anything from the house. Like, he would even steal the weapon, the murder weapon from, use the murder weapon or the tool from the house, from inside the house, and then this person would just leave it behind. Interestingly enough, the majority of the Axeman's victims were Italian immigrants or Italian Americans, which led people to believe that the crimes were ethnically motivated. During the months-long activity, the Axeman would display fondness of theatricals, playing games with New Orleans media, and thriving on the fear of the city's residents. On the night of May 23rd, 1918, Joseph Maggio, an owner of a grocery store, was long asleep next to his wife Catherine when someone broke into their house on the corner of Upper Line and Magnolia Streets. The assailant did not waste time and proceeded to cut the victims' throats with a straight razor. And before leaving, he also bashed their heads with an axe. And this was because the police assumed this was because the killer, the attacker, wanted to cover up the fact that he first slit their throats. I don't know why, because honestly, it doesn't really make much of a difference since he bashed their heads also with an axe. So I'm not sure what difference did it make, but yeah, he wanted to, for some reason, cover up the fact that he also slit the victims' throats. Joseph actually survived the attack itself, but died just as his brothers, Jake and Andrew, found him and his wife about 2 hours after they were slain. When the police arrived at the scene, they found a pile of bloody clothes left in the house and concluded that the killer must have changed into a clean outfit after the attack. Later, a bloody razor and an axe were found on the lawn of the neighboring property, and it turned out that the razor belonged to Andrew Maggio, Joseph's brother, who owned a barbershop on Camp Street. So, obviously, this raised suspicion. Because could it be that Andrew murdered Joseph and his wife? But the explanation for why the razor was at the house came quickly. Andrew's employee, Esteban Torres, told the police that Andrew brought the razor from his shop 2 days before the murder, and that was no secret because Andrew had wanted to hang a nick honed from the blade, or do something to the razor. I don't know. There was a reason. He just brought the razor. There was no secret about it. So Andrew actually lived in the apartment next to his brother's home and heard strained groaning at the time, which is why he decided to check on his brother. But interestingly enough, Andrew said he did not hear the attack itself, only the groans, his brother's and his wife's groans afterwards, which is, it's interesting, how do you hear the groans, but how do you not hear the attack itself, which must have been pretty loud. So he further explained that he was actually intoxicated at the time because he had just returned home from a celebration party prior to his departure to join the Navy. So he's just explaining to the police officers, yes, okay, this sounds bad. I heard the groaning, like this is what woke me up, this is what brought me to my brother's apartment, but I didn't hear the attack because I was still drunk. So this didn't exactly clear him out of suspicion, and for a long time, he was the prime suspect in the case. Andrew himself did mention to the police that on the night of the murders, he had spotted an unknown individual allegedly lurking near the Maggio residence prior to the murders. And no valuables were stolen from the house that night, which again led the police to believe that robbery was not the motive. The motive was only murder, only attacking the victims. Oh, sorry. And there was, however, one chilling clue found near the crime scene. Apparently, a cryptic message written in chalk on the pavement a short distance from the Maggio house was found, and this message said, quote, "Mrs. Maggio will sit up tonight just like Mrs. Tony," end quote. Well, that's cryptic. Scary as fuck. Okay. At first, the message would be considered random, or maybe a hoax. But then the police theorized that this could be referring to another homicide that happened in I think between 1911 and 1912, when Mrs. Tony, I think that's how you read the name, but Mrs. Tony Sciambra or Shambra. So basically a wife and her husband, the grocer of Italian descent and his wife were attacked by an axe-wielding man. This was only one of several cases from a period between 1911 and 1912 that the police would later connect to multiplying incidents in 1918 and 1919. The thing is, this was not a standalone incident. The killer was just starting. So this is when Joseph and Catherine Maggio were slain, were attacked and slain. And I'm gonna go through as many victims as I can, at least the ones that I know about. I know there are more because the map actually shows, this is a map of, supposedly the map of all the attacks, and I'm not sure, I don't think all of them are, I was able to find all of them. I don't think that, I think more are marked on this map, and I'm not sure which ones are there. It may be that these also include the attacks from 1911 and 1912. So just so you know. Okay. So, a month after Joseph and Catherine were killed, Louis Bessemer and his lover, Harriet Anna Lowe, were attacked and killed, were attacked in the early morning hours on the 27th of June, 1918. They were found in the quarters at the back of Louis's grocery shop at the corner of Dorguenois and La Harpe streets. The couple was discovered shortly after 7 a.m. By a man called John Zanka, who worked as a driver of a bakery wagon and who had come to the grocery shop for his just routine delivery. When the coroner examined, when the police examined the crime scene and looked at the injuries of, on Louis and Anna, they determined that Louis was struck with a hatchet just above his right temple, resulting in a skull fracture. Harriet, on the other hand, was hacked over her left ear. When Zanka arrived, he found them in a pool of blood from their wounds. And the weapon the attack weapon, an axe again, belonged to Lewis himself and was again found inside the apartment in the bathroom. By some miracle, Lewis and Harriet both survived the attack, but there wasn't much they could tell the police aside from the fact that they were asleep when the killer attacked them. But then the police was like, don't worry, we got the guy, we arrested him immediately. And people were like, what? When did you, what? Who that? So who could the person, the suspect be, you may ask? And I cannot believe, I can believe why, like I can believe this happened, this shit happened in 1918. But like, come on. So apparently, the police arrested Louis Ubicon, who was a 41-year-old African-American man who happened to have been employed by Lewis at his store just a week before the attacks. And get this, there was no evidence whatsoever that he was anywhere near the scene, that he had any motive to attack Lewis and Harriet, because he was just employed at Lewis's store. There was like literally no, I don't know, not much time for them to argue, to, I don't know, build a negative relationship whatsoever. There was literally no definite evidence of his guilt, and yet, here we are. He was arrested. Top-notch work of the New Orleans PD. Good job, you guys. Okay, fine. The officers who were interviewing Ubicon claimed that he had given them conflicting accounts of his whereabouts on the night or morning, early morning of the murders, or not murders, attacks. I keep saying murders. So it absolutely did not help that suddenly Harriet, so the second victim, one of the victims, she had an epiphany and later went to the police. Like when she knew that they arrested Lewis, this African-American man, she later went to the police and told them that she believed she was attacked by a, quote, mulatto man, end quote. But the problem is that she was asleep at the time, and at first she was, she didn't say anything about it. She was just like, oh, no, I don't know, I don't remember. And then, she was struck in the head, so it's unlikely she could even see clearly. She was even conscious. And this testimony was actually discounted later on. Thank God, because this guy was just like randomly, okay, what? Like, why am I being arrested? I'm just working here. I just got employed here. So Lewis was arrested, but he was eventually released since, again, there was literally no reason to arrest him to begin with. But wait, because that's not the only time this story went off the fucking rails. And I love this part because it's so chaotic and it's so infuriating. Let me read some of the chats. Oh yeah, this was common back then in the South. Old-timey racism. It was. Like, they had no reason to believe that this guy was their guy, but yet they just arrested him, because why not? Also because this lady just claims had an epiphany and she was like, oh yeah, I totally saw him. New Orleans is hell, for real. It's an extremely dangerous place. I guess I've never been, but I can believe it might be a little rowdy. Gotta remember, Louisiana is part of the southern states. Oh yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't want to assume that everywhere is, like racism is so common in the southern states, but I hear about it a lot, so I'm just like, okay, there is this stereotype, or there is this, the trend. Mulatto, yeah, that's the quote. I don't know, like it was it's spelled M-U-L-A-T-T-O, but yeah, that's the quote. Like, how was it described? RJ, I mean, if you think it's crazy that police arrested a black man without any evidence back in 1918, just wait till you hear about the rest of the 20th century. Oh yeah, I mean, I read a lot of the cases and I was just like, why? Why? There was so many. It's insane. And it goes so far into the past. Is mulatto an Old English word? I would assume so. This is, as I said, this is how it was described. They didn't say like dark skinned. This was one of the descriptions, so I can only assume that that's what they used. Or that's how it, at least in this case, that's how it was, that's the phrase that was used. Okay. Mulatto refers to someone who is biracial. Oh, okay. Okay, because I thought it was like, okay, this is an equivalent for, like, dark-skinned person, but, I guess, or like, you know, a term for a black person at the time, but okay, so that's, okay, that makes breach. Thank you so much for explaining. I guess I didn't know the actual, I thought it was like, okay, referring to a black person, but, I guess not. I guess it's a biracial term. Okay. Most commonly a mix of white and black. Oh. Alright, I should, yeah, like this is, okay. Nice, now I know something new. I will not be using that anyway, but sure. Good to know some stuff, some new stuff. Okay, so, let's move on. The story goes off the rails because apparently later on the attention turned to none other but Louis Bessemer himself. Yes, one of the victims. Basically, media started talking about how allegedly a series of letters written in German, Russian, and Yiddish were found at the man's home. Police started suspecting him to be a German spy, because why not? You know, obviously, it's 1918, everyone is a fucking German spy, and it got, or Russian spy, and it got to the point where the government launched a full-on investigation into a possible espionage, even though this guy was struck in the head, his head was split open that night, and yet they are like, I don't know, he a German spy, sus. And get this, because that's not all. Harriet Lowe, so the other victim, she started talking about how Louis was in fact a German spy, and that basically, you know, got him arrested. So he's arrested. And at this point, I'm just like, shut the fuck up, woman. So Louis is released 2 days later because obviously this is a pile of horseshit. He's not a German spy. He was just as much of a victim as Harriet was. But wait, because this is not where, you know, Louis and Harriet's story ends, and this is not where Harriet shuts the fuck up. Picture this. Life goes on. Louis survives the attack. Harriet survives the attack. But then Louis was arrested because Harriet, again, told the police, you know, he's a German spy. Sorry, this was like when he was arrested. Then he was released, only to be arrested again in August 1918, after Harriet, who was like actually on her deathbed after some complications after a surgery. So she tells the police that he was actually the one who attacked her with a hatchet. So it wasn't the, you know, the employee, Louis. No, now Harriet is telling the police, oh, it was actually Louis. And I'm just here like, you know what? I'm gonna say this. Women should just shut the fuck up. Okay, no. Because that would mean I would have to end this stream. So many twists. Yeah, so Louis is arrested again because Harriet is just telling the police, oh yeah, he attacked me. And then they're like, wait, but he was also injured. How does that work? And she's like, well, I mean, I don't know, but I saw him. So Louis was actually charged with murder because Harriet actually died in August 1918, like right after that confession. Louis actually was charged with murder and spent 9 months in prison before he was acquitted on May 1st, 1919. So, goddamn, give this man a break. Type Sion is like, huh, shut up, Fear, at Pat. Before Cyanide spies headed rough. Gilberto says, it's a fair assumption to think racists are all over the South. They wanted to keep slavery going after all. But yeah, it's best not to generalize. Yeah, I tried not to generalize. I know how it was historically. Definitely not good. Definitely a lot of racism going on. Not only in the States, all over the world. Let's face it, like everywhere was pretty racist. We were dicks. People were dicks. But yeah, I don't want to generalize. Again, now I just said it. Women should shut the fuck up. At least, okay. Okay, I guess thanks guys for tuning in today's stream. I have to shut the fuck up. No. So anyway, in the end, Lewis is released. It was ridiculous to begin with, because he was injured too, and then he just keeps getting arrested. But life moved on. Harriet died. No more confessions. No more, you know, I don't know, groundbreaking confessions. Someone please save this man. Seriously. Okay, so while this bonanza is happening, on August 5th, 1918, another person falls a victim to the Axeman. 29-year-old Anna Schneider is attacked in the early evening hours by an unidentified man who she saw as a dark figure standing over her before he bashed her head, or he bashed her in the face repeatedly. She actually survived the attack, but her wounds were severe. Her scalp was cut open and face was completely disfigured and covered in blood. Anna was discovered by her husband Ed, who returned from work just after midnight. Mind you, at the time of the attack, Anna was 8 months pregnant, at that time, and gave birth to a healthy baby girl 2 days after the attack. This lady is a fucking champ. She survived. She was fucking injured, and then she gives birth. Does that mean she gave birth to an axe baby? Wait. Also, can we establish by now? Can people start hiding their can people just get rid of their axes? Now we had at least what, 5 victims? 5 victims of this, crazy person with who uses the axes and razors from the house. Let's establish one thing. How about we all get rid of the axes and razors from our homes and just, put an end to this? But no, people just kept their axes in their homes. Idiots. The axe baby of New Orleans. Yeah, razor baby or axe baby. Okay, so upon investigating the case, the police determined that aside from a couple of dollars from Ed's wallet, nothing was stolen from the house again. Surprisingly, this time the weapon was determined to be... Okay, so this time, actually they did determine it wasn't an axe. Okay, my bad. The weapon was actually determined to be a lamp. I forgot about that, but it was determined to be a lamp that had been on a nearby table, so I guess it doesn't matter if you get rid of your axe. The axeman is gonna be a lampman and just use a lamp. The police later arrested an ex-convict, James Gleason, suspecting him to be their guy in this case, especially since he attempted to escape when they came for him, even though there wasn't any evidence of his involvement in the case, and he was just... I guess he just told the police that he was, I read about it, but he basically told the police, when they asked him, why did he escape? Why did he run away? And he was just like, oh, I get arrested so often. I got arrested so many times that I just didn't want to get arrested again. And I think that's not the problem. I think the problem is what you do to get arrested. But at this point, the investigators start to publicly speculate that the attack on Schneider and the previous 2 attacks were likely done by the same person. Breach is like, Mothman? Do you mean Mothman? Oh yeah! He is lured in by any lamps. By lamps. And that's why he uses lamps. Lampman. Sounds like a Mega Man boss. Lampman. Okay, moving on. Only 5 days later, so 5 days after Anna Schneider was attacked, on August 10th, 1918, an elderly man called Joseph Romano Romano, I guess, was attacked at his home. Joseph was living on the corner of Tonti and Gravier streets, Jesus, right next to his nieces Pauline and Mary Bruno. And on the night of the attack, the two girls awoke hearing a commotion from their uncle's apartment. When they entered, they actually found Joseph with 2 serious wounds to his head, and as they arrived, they were able to see the assailant fleeing the scene. From their testimony, it turns out they said the attacker was a dark-skinned, heavy-set man, and he was wearing a dark suit and a slouched hat. Even though Joseph Romano survived that night and was transported to the nearest hospital, he died 2 days later due to the trauma, and he didn't tell anything to the police. He most likely was not conscious, and he just died. His apartment was left in chaos. It was definitely ransacked by the attacker, but surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, no items were reported stolen. The murder weapon was also discovered at the scene, and it was an axe belonging to Romano, and it was left in the backyard. And can I say this again? Can we please get rid of all the axes? Please just get rid of them. Get rid, axes, razors, lamps, out the window. Don't keep them in the house. Is this why we don't talk about Bruno? No. Yeah, probably. So the suspect was probably an overweight black man. See, I don't know about the black man part, because a lot of people just say that, oh, it was a dark figure. So I don't know if it was specifically dark-skinned or they just saw a shadowy figure. Some people reported seeing a white man, some people reported seeing a black man, and I don't know who to believe. Obviously, the serial killer was never found. So this incident was publicly connected to the previous ones and created the outburst of panic in the city. And that also brought false reports. The police were flooded with reports from people who claimed they saw an axeman lurking in their neighborhoods. Some people even called to report finding axes in their yards. Again, please get rid of your axes. Goddamn, people. Let me just hide something. Okay. Then a revelation came from John D'Antonio, a retired Italian detective who came forward and publicly stated that he believes the axe murders from 1918 are likely connected to a series of attacks and murders that happened in 1911, where the perpetrator remained unidentified. Apparently, there were striking similarities between the incidents from 1911 and 1912 and the ones in 1918. Victims were attacked by a person wielding an axe. The attacker would often break into their houses at night by knocking out a panel in the back door with a chisel. Detective D'Antonio claimed that the killer may have a dual personality. So basically, this detective leaned towards the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde theory, basically saying that this person must be a model citizen, law-abiding citizen during the day, and then they get overcome or overwhelmed with a desire to kill, and there isn't any other motive. It's just a desire to kill, not a desire to rob anyone. Also, there was a theory that actually the Axeman is targeting women, but whenever they come across the husband, they just kill them both. So this was a theory. This was never confirmed, but it just seems like, okay, it could be that the attacker actually targets women, but they just so happen to have husbands sometimes. So sometimes that just sounds weird. Like they have a pair of socks sometimes with them. I don't know. They're wearing a pair of socks sometimes. So anyway, the theory was that the attacker actually targets women, but as they attack women, they just kill the husband too, or attack the husband too, obviously to incapacitate him. I'm 100% certain this cop misdiagnosed the murderer's mental illness. I have no idea. This was like, okay, dual personality. This is literally like what they said, what this detective said, like, oh, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde condition, if that can be called, if it's what it can be called. Murders people with an axe. Probably a nice guy during the day when he's not a murderous psychopath. Okay, let's move on. So then the killer disappeared for months until striking again on March 10th, 1919. This time, the victims were an Italian immigrant, Charles Cortimiglia, and his wife Rosie, and their infant daughter Mary. I'm sorry, I was going to put baby Mary here, but but it just sounded weird, so I didn't include the baby, but there was a baby. So they lived on the corner of Jefferson Avenue and 2nd Street in Gretna, Louisiana, which is just outside of New Orleans across the Mississippi River. That night, neighbors heard screams from Charles's home. His across the street neighbor, Orlando Giordano, rushed over to the house to check on the family. When he saw, what he saw was shocking to say the least, because as he entered the house, he saw Rosie standing in the doorway, and she was covered in blood, blood dripping from her head, and she was gripping on the fragile body of her daughter, who by the time was already dead because he was also stricken with a blunt object. So Charles was on the floor bleeding out. When the family was brought to the hospital, it was determined that the couple had sustained skull fractures. Back at the crime scene, the police found that the back door panel had been chiseled away, just like in all the other cases, and an axe covered in the victim's blood was left on the back porch of the house. God damn, people, get rid of the axes! That's it, that's it! Put an end to this, get rid of the axes. Okay, so, interestingly enough, after Rosie regained back full consciousness, she claimed that the attackers were none other than the 69-year-old Orlando Giordano and his 18-year-old son, Frank. Despite the fact that, for one, Charles completely denied his wife's claims, so his wife is claiming, again, women, shut the fuck up! I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but like, what? What are you talking about, woman? So Charles actually completely denied his wife's claims. He said, like, no, this is not the perpetrator. Like, that's my neighbor. Come on. For two, his neighbor was simply too old to commit these attacks. Like, come on. It would mean that he, an almost 70-year-old guy committed all those attacks, not only this one, but like all the attacks in 1918 and possibly 1911 and 12. Mind you, on the other hand, Frank was his son was over 6 feet tall and 200 pounds, rendering him to be too large to squeeze through the back door panel that was like just chiseled away enough for someone to squeeze in. Despite that, the police decided to arrest both men and charge them with murder, only based on the testimony from Charles's wife, Rosie, a woman who just lost her child. I get it. She was attacked. She lost a child. She's in shock. She's angry. But like, come the fuck on. The husband just says like, yo, that's not where the, you know, that's not the suspect. Those are not the suspects. And mind you, they didn't have any other evidence. So this was the only evidence. Her testimony was the only evidence, quote unquote evidence. So again, women, shut the fuck up. I'm not trying to be like, I'm not trying to discriminate against women or be misogynistic, but in this case, shut the fuck up. Okay, so get this. Those two, the Giordanos, were actually later found guilty. And Yolanda was sentenced to life in prison, while Frank was sentenced to death. To death by hanging. So Charles was understandably upset with his wife and divorced her right after the trial. He was just like, you know, crazy person, I can't even with you. Get away from me, I'm divorcing you. Wait for it. So this is not the end. A year after the incident and the trial, Rosie suddenly had an epiphany, and she announced that she had actually falsely accused the two men out of spite. And thankfully, because I was like, at this point, I was panicking. I was just like, what the fuck? Did you just get one man killed and another one just sentenced to life in prison? But thankfully, the death penalty had not yet been executed on Frank Giordano, and the two men were eventually released from prison after Rosie confessed. I cannot with this woman. I cannot. Jesus. Neighbors can have very dark secrets. Yes, but this was like, that's not how it happened. We don't know. 69-year-olds could be spry. Get rid of axe. Okay, let's bury the axes. I got the shovels. And then shovels. It's gonna be a shovel man. To be honest, this guy is attacking people in their sleep, in their houses, and his striking average isn't exactly on the mark. Yeah, like, see, he did manage to kill some people, but a lot of them actually survived, which is obviously good, but still. Okay, so then the Axeman decided to reveal himself and torment the people in the most theatrical way. Let me just read this out. On March 13th, 1919, the Times Picayune newspaper published a blood-chilling letter sent by an individual who signed the document as the Axeman. The letter would uncover a killing spree over the past year that up until now, was kind of loosely connected, but was never really confirmed to be connected. And now I'm gonna read out the letter. Quote, Hell, March 13th, 1919. Esteemed mortal, they have never caught me, and they never will. They have never seen me, for I am invisible, even as the ether that surrounds your earth. I am not a human being, but a spirit and a demon from the hottest hell. I am what you Orleanians and your foolish police call the Axeman. When I see fit, I shall come and claim other victims. I alone know whom they shall be. I shall leave no clue except my bloody axe, besmeared with blood and brains of whom I have sent below to keep me company. If you wish, you may tell the police to be careful not to rile me. Of course, I am a reasonable spirit. I take no offense at the way they have conducted their investigations in the past. In fact, they have been so utterly stupid as to not only amuse me, but His Satanic Majesty, Francis, Joseph, etc. But tell them to beware. Let them not try to discover what I am, for it were better that they were never born than to incur the wrath the wrath of the Axeman. I don't think there is any need for such a warning, for I feel sure the police will always dodge me, as they have in the past. They are wise and know how to keep away from all harm. Undoubtedly, you Orleanians think of me as a most horrible murderer, which I am, but I could be much worse if I wanted to. If I wished, I could pay a visit to your city every night. At will, I could slay thousands of your best citizens, for I am in close relationship with the Angel of Death. Now to be exact, at 12:15 earthly time, on the next Tuesday night, I am going to pass over New Orleans. In my infinite mercy, I am going to make a little proposition to you people. Here it is. I am very fond of jazz music, and I swear by all the devils in the nether regions. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I just read nether regions and I couldn't. Okay. Damn. Okay. And I swear by all the devils in the nether regions. This should not be funny, but nether regions, that every person shall be spared in whose home a jazz band is in full swing at the time I have just mentioned. If anyone has a jazz band going, well, then so much the better for you people. One thing is certain, and that is that some of your people who do not jazz it out, jazz it out on that specific Tuesday night, if there be any, will get the axe. Well, as I am cold and crave the warmth of my native Tartarus, and it is about time I leave your earthly home, I will cease my discourse, hoping that thou wilt publish this, that it may go well with thee. I have been, am, and will be the worst spirit that ever existed, either in fact or realm of fantasy. The Axeman. I'm sorry, I lost it at the nether regions. Also, jazz it out, people. Jazz it out. So, that night, March 19th, 1919, this was the Tuesday that the Axeman was talking about. Gilberto, nether regions, dirty-minded Sona. I'm sorry, it's just like, it just got me. Jazz bands after this letter. Whoop! Yeah. I mean, seriously. So, that night, on March 19th, 1919, is considered the loudest night in the history of New Orleans, when jazz music would erupt from every house, jazz bands at every party, bar, and dance club. But not in order to celebrate and have fun. Right on schedule, jazz bands started playing at 12:15 a.m. in order to repel the Axemen from hunting the residents of the city. And sure enough, no murders or attacks happened that night. Okay, let me just read some of the chats. I am a reasonable spirit, kills on a whim and makes nutty demands. Is the Axeman an actual fae folk? I mean, I don't know. He just started listing out names, Frank, Joseph, and I'm just like, okay. So does that mean Satan's name is Frank Joseph? That's not very cool. From the very fiery pits of hell. Definitely was the butler that did it. Maybe. Game leader, leave my axe. But he used their axes, so don't think it's him. Writer just wants people to hire his jazz band. Plus, hate those nether region demons. See, in that case, was it like a, I don't know, music, was it the guy was like into music industry and he had like a lot of jazz bands. And he's just like, hire my jazz bands, go, otherwise you can expect my axe. Yeah, I'm like, excuse me, sir, this was never your axe. The Axeman is like Swiper from Dora. Jesus. Well, at least you're laughing at him. I know, right? Well, I mean, I'm trying not. This should not be making me laugh. This should not be making me laugh, but it does, because for some reason the wording in this letter, some parts are just like, what? Okay. So as I said, that night no murders or attacks happened. But peace didn't last long because peace didn't last long because on August 10th, 1919, the Axemen decided to strike again. Steve Boca, a grocer, also, mind you, this guy is attacking grocery stores owners. Like, what do you have? You do know that they give you food, right? Like, please don't. They give you what's on your plate. Stop, like, piss off. Just leave the grocery store owners away, like, you know, alone. Anyway, so Steve Boca awoke in the middle of the night only to find a dark figure looming over him. Before he could do anything, the assailant hit him in the head and cracked it open. Luckily, Steve Boca did not die. He came to eventually and immediately ran to the home of his neighbor, Frank Ganusa, where he collapsed again. Just like with all the other incidents, nothing had been stolen from Steve's home that night. And again, the back door panel had been chiseled away in order to create an entrance for the Axemen. Unfortunately, even though Steve recovered from his injuries, he couldn't remember anything else about the attack. So again, no description of the attacker, only that it was a dark figure, and that's how it ended. Again, the Axeman is not very... I guess he is called the serial killer because he did manage to kill some people, but like, honestly, his aim is not that great. I don't know. I mean, not impressed. I know it sounds bad. Okay, I know I sound bad, but not impressed. No, I'm kidding. Okay. Sorry. Let me hydrate real quick. Short break. Okay. Ethan says, in 1919, a local tune man named Joseph John Davila created a music sheet called The Mysteries Axemen's Jazz. Don't scare me, Papa. Oh yeah, I think I saw like a poster for it. Oh, that's interesting. I think I just focused, I mean, I focused on obviously on the case. I didn't include this fact, but yeah, I think I saw a poster for it, so that's interesting. Okay. So the next victim was Sarah Lauman, who was attacked on September 3rd, 1919. Upon hearing concerning sounds from her residence, the neighbors came over to check on her and found Sarah lying unconscious on her bed, blood oozing out of a severe injury to her head, and she was also missing several teeth. Turns out, the intruder entered the apartment through an open window and attacked Sarah with an axe that was later found on the front lawn of the building. Sarah again did survive, but this was yet again a case of the victim not being able to recall any details from the attack, even though she survived. You know, again, we don't have any details about the murder or like the attacker himself. Sorry, let me just hide this. Mike Pepitone is believed to be the last known victim of the Axeman of New Orleans. On the night of October 27th, Mike's wife woke up to a noise coming from her husband's bedroom. And just as she was nearing the bedroom door, an axe-wielding large man was fleeing the scene. Meanwhile, Mike had been struck in the head, with blood covering his face and some of it splattered inside the room. So the scene was very, very gruesome, and Mike actually died that night. Unfortunately, his wife wasn't able to share any more details about the killer, and so the Axemen disappeared into the night. And then the axe killings and attacks stopped as abruptly as they started, and the perpetrator was never heard from again. So, here's an interesting twist to the story, or at least to this last case. In December 1920, almost a year after the attack on Mike, his wife actually there was a story that allegedly his wife attacked and shot a man to death in Los Angeles. She was convinced that the man named Joseph Monfrey, or Monfrey, is responsible for her husband's death. But there's a number of issues with this story. For one, researchers and crime writers tried to find out more about this, Joseph Monfrey. And yet, despite looking through Los Angeles public, police, and court records, as well as newspaper archives, they were not able to find any evidence that a man with the name Joseph Monfrey or anything similar existed there. Even less so, that he was assaulted and killed that year. Information confirming the murderer to be Mrs. Pepitone was also never really confirmed. Some sources would identify the perpetrator or the woman as Esther Albano, but again, no more information about her, while others would just refer to her as a, quote, woman who claimed to be Pepitone's widow, end quote. There wasn't any record about Mike's wife being arrested or charged with this crime, and not even information that she was in California at the time. On the other hand, Monfrey was actually not an uncommon name in New Orleans, and there may have been a man named Joseph Monfrey or something similar with criminal history there at the time. So on May 16th, 1912, and I'm gonna circle back to a case that I mentioned at the beginning of this story. So on May 16th, 1912, an Italian couple named Chambra was shot by an intruder in the early morning hours. While the husband survived, the wife died. And the prime suspect in this case was a man named Frank Doc Monfrey, who would often use an alias Joseph Monfrey or Manfrey. So if this man was indeed the same person who allegedly was shot in Los Angeles in 1920, maybe he was also the Axeman. At least that was the theory. And that would make the Chambras the Axeman's early victims. And I apologize that I keep kind of mispronouncing the name. I wasn't sure. I was trying to find the right pronunciation for this name, but I couldn't. Like it's very different. Like some Italian pronunciation says Chambra, and some says like Scambra. So I apologize if I butchered it. So, however, this theory was never really confirmed without any reasonable, beyond any reasonable doubt, and the case of the Axeman of New Orleans was never solved. And that wraps up our case and this video and the stream. Please, people, hide your axes. Get rid of your axes. That should be rule number one. I hope that after this series of attacks and murders, the government was just like, rule number one, no one is allowed to have an axe or a razor in their home. At the end, get rid of it. Damn it, woman. I listened to that song, and when my mom heard it, she said, I haven't heard that song in a long time. What? What? That's crazy. To be fair, though, it is pitch black when he attacks. Yeah, although some of the attacks happened in the early morning, like around 7 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., so, maybe it wasn't as dark. Fear firewood. I know that okay, thank you for sharing this case. Yeah, no problem. I was excited to talk about this case, and I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it, and so many of you tuned in, so thank you so much. Okay, let me just... Okay, before we end the video, the stream, let me just say thank you to all of my patrons who are supporting this channel, and thank you to you guys. Thanks to you, this channel can go on. Obviously, thanks to all of you guys who watch here on YouTube, but also all of you who financially support me. Thank you so much. Colonel Turtle, I can't speak today. Colonel Turtle, Tyrant Kitsune, Zinc Scholastica, CW, Esau Ben Rostro, Rudolph Ganudo, IDK Bacon 53, Jacob Ian, Homestead's Apprentice, Nonan, Emmanuel Cadet, Windstorm 555, Ian, RJ, Ashley Houston, not Haston. Why am I... Sorry. Apologies. That was this. Okay. Ashley Houston, Sienna, Connor Campbell, Bubak, Kronos, Hex Gengar, Beverly, Eric, Leonovsky, Gravesinger, Brandon S, Kanta, Gone Puppy, Ryoki, Racer7331, Alpaca My Bags, it always gets me, Rune S, Christopher McCanns, Calf, when? I think. Dale Angiano, Chris, Hopeful Space, P Taco. Thank you so much for listening to this case. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Wait, Ian, don't worry, son, I don't have an axe. Because I live in California where fires come for free once or twice a year. That's nice. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in today, for listening to this case, for, you know, enjoying the live chat, for sharing your opinion. And again, thank you so much to all of my patrons for supporting my channel. Let me switch to the chat screen. Okay. So, some lessons learned. You know, there were a couple of lessons learned from this case. One, don't keep a goddamn axe or a razor in your house. Please get rid of it. Two, women should sometimes shut the fuck up. I mean, I'm kidding, but like, in this case, no, really. Like, really. Shh. Quiet. Just don't. You know, like, I know you want to share your opinion. Please refrain. Alpaca My Bags laughs. That always gets me. Takes a shot. It always gets me because the username is just glorious. No weird loss today. Yeah, I'm sorry. I kind of forgot about it today. I'm gonna make up for it in the next stream. I apologize. Because my throat is honestly dying right now because I've been talking for like an hour and 10 minutes. Yeah, it hurts a little. So I'm gonna make up for it by talking about the dumb laws from Louisiana in the next stream. Okay, thanks for the lesson, Sphere. I'll remember that. Please, Sona cancelled what? Stupid laws time. Yeah, I'm gonna do stupid laws in the next stream. I'm so sorry. Again, thank you so much for watching. If you find yourself missing me and wanting to hang out a little bit more, you can go ahead and subscribe to my Patreon if you wanna, you know, support this channel, help it grow a little bit because all of the money basically goes to advertising. You can go on and subscribe. Only this month you will get a special Fearverse welcome package. You can check it out when you go to the website. Okay. And sorry, Ian. Oh, hey, Sona. Since grocers seem to be a target for the Axeman, you think that maybe he has some sort of grudge against grocers for some reason? Like, they wouldn't take his coupons or anything? Now that you mention it, yeah, I think maybe someone didn't give him, you know, the right change. Like, he paid for his groceries and then they just didn't give him the enough change, or like, I don't know, they charged him too much, and he was just like, vengeance. Like, I shall have my vengeance, my coins. Okay, so a stupid loss sounds fun. Yeah, usually I do it, but today I'm kind of like dying a little bit, so let me just do it in the next stream. I promise this is gonna happen. Okay. Hey, does anybody else hear that noise? It sounds like a back door being chiseled out. What? Oh shit. Okay, okay, I have to go hide my axe. All right. Thank you so much for joining today. Stay safe out there. Always lock your doors and windows. Don't just have a screen on your door. Hide your axes. Get rid of your axe, get rid of your razors, and stay safe. Until the next time. Farewell, fearlings. Bye.